but you're only going to see me.
Yes.
Lucky you.
I understand.
So I'm going to take just 1 minute to, or
Okay.
not 1 minute, I'm going to take a few moments to welcome our community.
That's great.
We have a small prayer, a few announcements, and then the rest will just be a chance for you and I to share and to visit.
Fine, dear. Fine.
Do you need anything from me before we continue?
I just need that smile.
I'm seeing you.
That makes me happy, Jonathan.
And you know, Mandaza, I don't know how well you can see this, but I wore this shirt for the water spirits today.
Thank you. Are you still respecting them, Jonathan?
And maybe not as much as I should, but yes, very much. Very much.
Why not as much?
Because I'm foolish. And I get distracted by silly things like life. Yeah, but
it happens in life.
They're patient with me anyway. So okay. So give me 1 moment, and I'm going to say welcome to everyone who's here with Mandaza and myself. Mandaza Kandemwa is coming to us live, I guess, in Bulawayo, in South Africa. In Zimbabwe, where I have visited him a number of times, although not recently, not for some time now. In a moment, we will have the rest of our time to talk with and listen to Mandaza. But for now, I would like to just thank each and all of you for coming. We're grateful. Your attention is a gift. Your awareness, your love, your concentration, it makes a difference, not only for the messages that we share, but it is felt. Even if it is not known, it is felt by everyone who is a part of this time together. And even if you watch this later, or you watch this again, there is a kind of healing or a medicine in our connection and community. So please know that just being a part of this is something important. So thank you. Of course, we also, we have a very big building, we have staff, and we have a physical community that we're still maintaining. So for those of you that are making donations, we're very grateful for the ways you're contributing financially, and of course to people who volunteer their time and energy. Very quickly, the announcements. We want to remind you tomorrow night, I'm doing a special interview with Dr. Ken Harris, who wrote a book on synchronicity. He is an amazing character, a beautiful soul. It's at 7 o'clock tomorrow night, and we will have a private Zoom call with him. Then we have the workshop series, Spiritual Toolkit, starts on Tuesday. Healing Meditations with Suzanne Hunt begins October 23rd. I am doing a class in a week. Listen to this, Mandaza. It's about sex and spirituality. We're going to talk about that on I think the 12th. Anyway, it's the Monday coming up. And then, of course, if you want to learn more about what we're doing, you can go to our website, our Facebook page, or our newsletter. With that, I would like to invite you to take a breath wherever you are, whoever you are. Let's share in this statement that has united our community for 130 years, and a little blessing, a little prayer. So if you would, wherever you are, sit comfortably but alert. Let your eyes close and let your awareness move through your breath into the opening of your heart and the stillness and the silence that is waiting for you within. in this moment, as we release whatever no longer serves us, as we breathe in life force and light, we feel ourselves growing calm, clear, awakening to our connection wherever we are, whoever we are. We remember the legacy of those who've gone before us, our own ancestors, in our families, in our communities, and in this Althea community, the circle of women, the visionaries, the healers who planted the seeds for this great tree that we are all a part of now. And we remember this message they passed to us, and you can share it if you remember the words. God is all, invisible and visible, one presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life and perfect love, perfect substance. We are individualized expressions of God and are ever one with this perfect life, perfect love, perfect substance. And so each in our own way, but together as one, we pray to the one that is all, our source, our substance, this mystery, this love, dear God, Spirit. We are grateful for another day of life. We are grateful for another step on the path of being human. We are grateful for another moment to love, to learn, and to let go. We are grateful for our teacher today, Mandaza, and grateful for all the teachers in our life, those we seek, those we don't recognize, those hidden in the simplest and most complicated moments of life. We give thanks for all that brings us to awakening, to love. We give thanks today for all the ways we are nourished in body and mind, heart and soul, the clothes on our back, the food on our plate. May we take nothing for granted in spirit. And may we feel great gratitude for the ways we are nourished in heart and soul. We remember today, no matter how difficult life becomes, there is always beauty. There is always love. And there is always wisdom awaiting to guide us. May we celebrate that today. May we be grateful for that today. And may we lift up all prayers from all beings, all people, all nations who feel brokenness, seeking peace and wholeness. We are one in this prayer for harmony in this world. Amen. Datenda and Siabonga.
Kulungile, Papa. Thank you so much for that prayer, Papa.
Baba Mandaza, so now the time is yours. And there's so many things I would love to ask you on behalf of our community.
Yes.
But I think you probably are already feeling so many of the questions in the world. I'm sure you're getting messages in emails that your kids are passing to you. And I wonder if there's anything that you have been feeling you might want to share or to say to begin our time.
Thank you, Brother Jonathan, for that beautiful and great question. What I am feeling, remembering that information, spiritual information, is passed from generation to generation. Remembering also that we, the living, are going to be future ancestors, new generations. Looking at what is happening in human society, human world, are we going to leave a legacy? Are we going to leave a peaceful world or hand over a peaceful world to our youngsters today? Since you have the causes of all the conflicts that humanity faces today, this history we are making of conflicts, separation, ego, control, and the like, is going to be passed from us, the living future ancestors, to the living generations of our young people today. Are the young people of today going to celebrate this world, divided and separate world, because we are passing this information to them as ancestors? Are you happy with the story that you, Jonathan, are making in life, that it is going to benefit the future generations? Because what you are doing today on planet Earth is what you are going to hand over to the next generations. Are you going to be happy with what you hand over to them? Are they going to be proud of me, Papa Mandaza, for handing them what I'm writing as a future ancestor? So we need to really look at that issue very closely. If your story is not making you individually happy, if your story is not making your family happy, if it is not making your community happy, you need to revise it and write a new story. This is what I've observed, and I'm still observing that. So the elders have a responsibility of rewriting that story, which is going to be passed from generation to generation. We don't want to have a world like this one, which was passed on to us by some of our ancient ancestors. This is why sometimes we go back to those ancient ancestors who have caused conflicts and try to heal them, so that wherever they are in the world of spirits, they can revise their story and give it to us, a perfect story. That's what I'm observing. This is what I can share with you.
When you talk about this, it reminds me how we, as humans, how we get confused. And we can take something that is meant to be a medicine and we can turn it into a poison. Now, I want to observe something. Maybe it's not fair the way I'm going to ask, but when I'm with people in the indigenous world, the wisdom of the past and the future keeps us centered in the present. when we remember that we have ancestors whose stories we are living, whose gifts we can carry forward, whose mistakes we can address. When we remember we have children to come, generations ahead of us, then this awareness of the past and the future bring us to be loving and responsible peacemakers in the present. Yet, for so many people, now I want to say in the Western world or in the non-Indigenous world, but maybe that's not fair. Maybe it's people everywhere. Instead, they are using the past and the future in a different way. The past is about regret. The future is about fear and greed and desire. And so they're lost in the present. Do you see this imbalance? And are there some things, practices, or messages that you feel we as a human community need to remember to restore this balance and to reverse these relationships of confusion?
The moment we begin to see ourselves in other people, and other people begin to see themselves in us, that imbalance disappears. The moment we begin to love that mountain the way I love myself, that imbalance disappears. The future is healed, the present is healed, and the past also is healed. But we are still living in a world of divide and rule. Get everything, get the highest position of power in any institution, then you are the man to really work alongside with. The moment you begin to see yourself in the homeless person, you begin to see yourself in a captured elephant that is being kept in a zoo, the imbalances disappear. But we are still living in a world of divide, rule, and control. Self-recognition. I must be the only one, the only peacemaker in the world. There are peacemakers in nature as well. The trees are peacemakers. The air that we breathe is peacemaker. Are we becoming a spider web with all these other sources of peacemakers? If we are not yet a spider web, then we have some homework to do so that we begin to prepare a new future that is like an ocean that refuses no river. For now, we are still pieces of a big jigsaw puzzle scattered everywhere. There is no community yet in human society. There is no family in human society. There is no community in the world we live in today. We live very separated from each other. Look at our attitudes toward other people's cultures, our attitudes towards other people's religions, other people's way of living. There is judgment there. We are very judgmental. Those things must be buried 6 feet down if we want a legacy that unites us and all the environment.
Mm. Mm. Thank you. That's so clear. So clear.
Thank you.
It reminds me when I'm in South Africa, they use the word Ubuntu.
Exactly.
And in so many of the communities where I spend time, they don't have a word like love in the same way. English, we have love and we use it for so many things, and it can mean so many things. So many things, in fact, sometimes it means nothing because we don't know.
Very true.
But I think I understand Ubuntu is that feeling to see yourself in each other, to know that one cannot survive without the other.
Very true.
And I was just in this gathering before we spoke saying that division is an illusion. There really is no division except in the mind. We think it, but we are still connected even to the people who are against us. So I want to ask you a couple of questions about this, but the first one maybe is an easy question. In your language, is there a word like Ubuntu? Or how would you describe this experience of seeing one in the other in your language?
You see, there is no human language that can satisfactorily describe the concept of Ubuntu. Nothing, no language can describe that. If you want to learn more deeper the meaning of Ubuntu, just go and live with the people who are Ubuntu rooted. Just be there, observe and learn in silence. No human language can describe the concepts of Ubuntu. Ubuntu in my language is who know. Meaning, who know. Your beingness, who know. Ubuntu. Ubuntu means who know. It's so deep. That is where you find that we say it takes the whole village to raise a child. That is the concept of Ubuntu. A child is born in a community. That child belongs to the whole community. Someone, Mandaza, gets sick in that kind of a community. That sickness is attended to by the whole community. You see, the land cannot be owned by an individual. The land belongs to the whole community. The poor cannot never be identified in an Ubuntu society. Because once they see that this Mandaza is struggling with life, they will all come together and take that problem to be the problem of the whole community. That's Ubuntu. In Ubuntu Uhunu concept, we have a plate of food every day that is set aside for any stranger who may come through our village. That's what we do. And the first thing we do is to give them a glass of water in case they're thirsty before we even introduce each other. It's one of the concepts that you learn when you are just present in an Ubuntu society. The world is stuck in this other world, the mind. The mind is a world that has conflicts. This is why we rely heavily on the mind, the head. So it has taken mankind a long, long distance to travel from here to the heart. We are still on that journey, traveling from the head to the heart, right up to now. We think we know everything. We think we can do anything. That thinking needs renovation. It must be revisited and remodeled. The moment I graduate as a PhD degree holder, I become a very important person in my society. This is what we are doing. Is that PhD degree benefiting the ants and the birds in that community? Is it bringing these things together to make a family or a community? But we rely heavily on this, what I have learned in this life. So I'm the best educated person. I can do anything for myself. I can get any position of power using my intelligence acquired from this human world. We are starving the heart. The heart is thirsty. The heart is sick. It needs our healing by letting go of all that we think we know. This is what I see, brother.
You know, Baba, I'm thinking about when I first went to stay in Venda in near Messina in northeastern South Africa, and I stayed for some time. It was before it was when I met Chivengwa,
Yes,
Rumaliba, but I was there before I met him. And I remember walking one day from one village to the next. I was staying in one place and I would go and work with a healer in another place, just, working with digging roots and picking leaves.
yes.
And I was with these young men who were practicing their English with me. And I was the only, Muzungu, the only white face for a great distance. And we were talking a little bit about history. We talked a little bit about apartheid. And I asked, did they think that it was strange to see a white face in their community? Did they think that people might have hurt feelings or anger for somebody like me? Was it even dangerous for someone like me to be in a community like that? And they both laughed at me. One of them said, "No, you don't understand. In our community, you are probably safer than anywhere in the world because you're a stranger. Because you are not from our community,
Exactly.
it is our honor and it is our joy, our duty to care for you, to protect you. So anybody who could be against you in our community is against our whole community. We wouldn't let it happen." So I have a few things that come from this, what you shared. The first, I think I want to ask, you something about what you've seen in the way of healing the political struggle. Now, not everyone who watches understands the difficult history of Zimbabwe and its leadership. And not everyone really understands the history of your country beside you, South Africa. But you yourself have lived through some very dramatic times. People in the United States think they're facing something terrible, but they really don't even begin to understand how terrible things can be. Although they're afraid that maybe if we don't come together, if we don't listen, if we don't love, if we don't learn, it's going to get worse. I don't know exactly the question, but when you think about what you've seen over these years in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, in your own experience, is there something that you might share with people here who are leaders, or they want to be leaders, or they want to know how to bring two parties that are so against each other together? Are there things that work? Is there hope? Or is the whole system a mess? What do you see? What can you pass to us here in this country, in this time of political instability, out of the lessons of what you've seen around you?
That's quite a great question, Papa. If you go to any country in the world today and ask the so-called ordinary people to say, how is their political leader? How is their religious leader? How is their religious chief or queen? They will tell you very sad stories that during the elections, these people came to us asking for our votes. They made a lot of beautiful promises that once they came into power, they would deliver. Once these guys come into those powers, they abandon those people who have put them into power. I have been traveling and asking different people in their countries to say, how are your leaders in politics, in religions, in cultures? They say the relationships are terrible. No one country is happy with the leadership they have. Not even a single country in this world. Go to the United States and ask this question. Go to England, go to France, go to Africa. They are all praying for healing. Because a spiritual leader given to people by Creator and ancestors does not lead the people. A leader chosen by the people for the people does not lead the people. He follows behind the people. For he wants to see who is limping when everyone is in front. And he goes to the limping person and asks questions, what has happened? But if you are in front, you won't see the limping cow behind you. Our leadership needs renovation. We need to start training good leadership as is required of us by Spirit. It is a big subject, Jonathan, that you have raised, that I've been asked to speak about. The qualities of good leadership as is required of us by the great Spirit of love, peace, and justice does not want us to lead and to impose ideas on people. Are we not making laws for the people? It's the moment we begin to make laws for the people, excluding them from making the laws, there is a problem there. People must be brought together and ask them what kind of laws they want in this community. When that law is taken over by the people themselves, they don't need policemen, they don't need soldiers. Everyone becomes a policeman, everyone becomes a soldier, including the law protects them. It is them who made the law. And a law can be changed not by a single person in a community. It should be changed by the whole community. Say, we no longer need this law. But look at the laws that are being made in our religions, in our traditions, in our governments. They are chosen people who make laws for the people. If these laws are bringing people together, why do we engage the services of security forces? We don't need them. The sign of the presence of security forces in any environment, in any village, any street, the presence of policemen, the presence of military people is a sign that all is not well in that community. Are we today not training more soldiers, more secret policemen? Are we not training them? What for? According to Ubuntu, everyone is a police officer. You know, we don't need to train anyone for that because we protect our constitution that was made by the people for the people. This ingredient is missing in the recipe of political circles in this world today. This is my observation, and this is what I learned from my ancestors and spirits.
So this brings me to the other question I wanted to ask you. The time is going so quickly. I have two more questions. Of course, you know I have so many questions and no questions, no questions. So one of the things I hear in what you're talking about, a renovation, a revolution in how we build community, how we build leaders, I hear it as this movement from a world that is focused on the intellect and the mind with control and power to something more of the heart. Something that is, like you said, you can't put it into words, but you can feel it. You can know it by experience. I know that you see people in some moments when you travel or when people bring some to see you, when you're experiencing people who are lost in the world of the mind, or when you see communities or businesses lost in the world of the mind, disconnected from the heart, are there things you would like to remind people they can do to return to the heart? Is there a way for people who have lost that connection to go today and begin the journey of remembering our interconnection and what it means to live from the heart? What would you tell them to do?
I would first tell them to look at what is happening in the world, or what is happening in the world today. Go to a mountain, sit still, look at the human history from time immemorial up to now. Look at human history and ask yourself the question, is this history healing anything? Is this history benefiting anybody? So you begin to see two different worlds because spirit is making sure that it's going to allow you to see the two worlds and the imbalances there. As a peacemaker in making by spirit, they will open your mind and begin to see the two worlds.
Mm.
Once you begin to see the two worlds and you discover the imbalances, you go deeper, you want to see the causes of the imbalances. Then you pray to the higher powers for medicine that can heal the wounded taproot of a big tree. Don't begin to heal the leaves. Don't begin to heal the flowers of the big tree. You heal the taproot that gives life to all that you see that you call the big tree. Some people don't see that. We are not to blame them because they are not given the revelations. They are not given the eyes to see what a peacemaker to be sees. And then the great spirit that is working through you, Jonathan, through Mandaza, and through other people like us, will go on their knees and to pray for healing so that those people who are causing conflict begin to see what I see. It is prayer and ritual that has a purpose.
Mm.
Why are you doing the water ritual? I'm doing the water ritual today on behalf of my brothers and sisters who don't see what is happening in the world. That kind of a ritual, a ceremony, produces amazing results. But if you are just doing that ritual for the sake of doing it because you've learned it in KwaZulu-Natal, you have learned it in the Amazons, therefore I must continue practicing it. It doesn't work in anything. The question is, why have you decided to perform this fire ritual? I want my brothers and sisters out there, my leaders in the world, to see the path of freedom the way I see it, the path of oneness, the path of interdependence, not independence anymore. Once you offer those prayers, that's your responsibility, your duty given to you at birth by spirit to look at the two worlds. And when I look at the people on the other side of the two worlds who are seekers of knowledge, seekers of wisdom, seekers of Ubuntu, I go to perform a ceremony, Thanksgiving. You see the point there. You can see the connection between the two worlds and the ceremonies that we have been learning from different cultures to bring the two worlds together.
Mm.
So that tomorrow we celebrate interdependence.
Mm.
For as long as we are not yet a spider web, not a human spider web, a spider web for all creation, we still have a lot of homework to do to bring order to this world, Jonathan.
Mm. Mm. Thank you, thank you. And I hear in your answer about connecting with the heart, we go to the natural world, to the natural powers. We pray from the heart with meaning, and we re-energize our ceremonies so that we don't make the next path another creation of the mind. Instead, we truly learn to listen.
Yes, very correct.
So maybe the time we have one last question. And and then we could close with a prayer or a song or whatever you feel. It's been an interesting time, to say the least, in this country, in the United States, and in our community, this Althea community. It's mostly here in Denver, Colorado, but people are watching and connecting all over. There have been some, big challenges, and also some changes. I don't know if the word is loss. Maybe loss is the word. I don't think last week, our friend in Venda from Tungani, who we spent so much time with, and you came, and he's crossed over to the other side. He's left. And it came very suddenly, and his family called me to tell me, Chivengwa. And then in our community, a dear elder of our community who has been a part of the lifeblood keeping this community going. Her name is Pam. I have permission from her family to share her name and story. A little, maybe 4 days ago, on Thursday, she left this world and made her transition. And I saw Pam soon before she went, and she was very, very much in a good place. She felt the ancestors with her. She could see and feel the love around her. And as she told me, she wasn't afraid. The spirits were coming to help her. So I'm telling you this because when we lose someone in our minds as humans, in this culture, so mental, we think they're gone, right? People use the word lose, when in fact they're not lost and they're not gone. So my question to you, when you see a community or a person in a time feeling so much loss, whether it's our dear Pam or my, dear friend, Romaliba, or whether it's the 208,000 people in this country that have just died from the coronavirus, or the deaths in other countries. There's a lot of loss in the world right now. Is there something you think people might be forgetting in their sorrow, in their grief? Is there something you might share about this idea that we're losing so much and there is such a pain when people are passing?
I say, what dies is not Jonathan. There is this Jonathan I'm talking to. There is the inner Jonathan who was never born. That inner Jonathan does not die. That is why the day the outside Jonathan dies, the following night, I dream being with Jonathan. Remember, the one that we call Mandaza is not this body we are talking about. It is the soul in me which never dies. I think I sent a message when Baba Credo Mutwa went to the other world of the spirits. I sent a message which was read at his funeral. I say to the people, Baba Credo Mutwa is not dead. He is more present with us now
Mm.
than before.
Mm.
This is why Credo Mutwa visits many of his dear friends around the world today. They see him in their visions and dreams. I've made a statement to my family to say the day I am going to be called to the other world, to take some more work there. That day, I want you, my family, to buy as much food as possible. Eat, celebrate, sing, and dance. This is in my will, Jonathan.
Mm.
Once they do that, they uplift my soul. It goes happily, and it takes over the new job in this world of spirit. Remember, death and birth are twins. You cannot separate them. Each moment you say good morning, good afternoon, you are moving towards going to the world of spirit. Every one of us. Why then should I be afraid of traveling to the other world of ancestors? I don't fear death. Death is my ally. Yes, death is my ally. He must always be around me in the form of your shadow. Wherever you go, the shadow is with you. That's death. You cannot run away from it. So people are afraid of dying because of the stories that we read in the Holy Scriptures, that when you go there, if you are not perfect, you are going to be burned. How can a loving father or mother who creates humanity in his or her form prepare a fire for his creation? If there is such a God or a goddess in this world, that God or goddess does not belong to me. I want a father, a mother, a creator in whose I am in his image, to embrace me when I travel to the world of ancestors. She opens up her hands to receive me, not to take me to a burning fire. I don't believe in such a God myself. That's for me. So death is a process. You plant a seed, it is dying. The outside thing is dying. The inner soul of the seed germinates and gives us new life. We are exactly a seed planted on this earth. We are planted on this earth. And that seed, whether you plant it on a rock, in a thorny bush, it will definitely germinate and gives us a new plant. This is the thing about death and birth. But it is what we teach people from here. We frighten them, we create fear in them. That's why some of the religions, the cultures are saying, if you don't belong to our culture, you'll never go to the next world and enjoy peace. That's terrible teaching that. Terrible teaching that. So this is my response to your great question, Papa.
So I feel sad because the way the human world is organized, that means we're at the end of our time. I'm so happy to see you. I can't tell you, I love you. I think of you often, and you're a part of my family, even though it's been, I don't know, a few years now.
A few years, exactly, yes.
Yeah. And we hope to see you in person soon.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Before we say goodbye, I wonder, when we close our gatherings, I always say, as I'm saying now, thank you. Thank you to everyone who came. And then we make a prayer to close.
Yes.
May I say the thank you? And would you be willing to offer some prayer or song, whatever you feel is right, to close? Would you be okay with that?
Yes, Papa.
So then I will say the formalities, but they are from my heart. Thank you to everyone who has been with us for this conversation, and for everyone who watches it whenever and wherever. Your presence is a gift for us. Also, many of you are making donations so that we can keep our staff, we can keep our building, we can keep serving the community in love and creating a safe space for these stories of oneness and ways to heal together. We do have other amazing things happening this week, so please go look at the website and the newsletter. Some of you will see me tomorrow night in a session with Dr. Ken Harris talking about synchronicity. But more than anything, today I want to finish by saying thank you. Datenda Siabonga, to Baba Mandaza, thank you so much for being with me again, for being with us, and blessings for your family and for the work you're doing here, for your community, and for the gift that you are to the world.
You are most welcome, Jonathan.
I remember standing in the riverbed in South Africa with you and a circle of people, and we were singing, why, 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 why. This is such a beautiful song. So I already have, the ceremonies are already happening for me, but I wonder for the community that is watching, would you help us to close with some blessing of some kind?
Yes, Papa. Let us come back to our hearts at this moment of prayer. Thank you, great spirits, for calling us to this noble work we are doing. May we learn more of your ways from your creation, Mother Nature, the rivers, the mountains, the lakes, the animals. May they teach us more of your sacred ways. May we learn from Mother Nature, the forests, how to live side by side in peace. May we learn to heal one another the way your creation heals one another. May you give us eyes to see the wisdom of your knowledge and teachings. May we learn to build ourselves into livable communities and usable communities by spirit. May we learn to travel with the river from its source to the ocean. May we be protected from yielding to the forces of destruction. God and ancestors, hear and answer our prayers. May we walk on this long, beautiful journey to the world of peace, truth, freedom, and justice for all things. May we learn to be good leaders of our people and our environment. May we help us learn to listen to the beautiful messages that come from within us, from the heart. May we remember to be one with ourselves, because we are being controlled by the mind and not by the heart. May we learn to be one with the heart. May peace, freedom prevail on planet Earth as it prevails in the world of spirit. Ashe. Namaste. Attend.
Datenda. Thank you, Baba.
Welcome, Jonathan.
I hope I can see you again soon.
Thank you, Jonathan. Israel, I will hand you over to my son, Israel.